Okay, starting again along US Highway 61, heading toward New Orleans, going southeast, really almost directly east at this point, but the sign says south because it ultimately goes south from Minnesota to New Orleans, so that's why it's like that. It might say you're going north, but you might be going west, but they're tracking about the ultimate direction of it. Well, there's that big swamp again. Left Destrehan in St. Charles Parish, and now we're heading toward St. Rose. And it's 55 miles an hour, and I'm going above that. I'm going above 60, and that guy in that Ram truck is leaving me like I'm standing still. Well, that's a tradition in America to blatantly ignore the speed limit and to go very fast. I don't do it, really. I used to when I was young, go as fast as I could, I guess, but calm down. I'm not in a big rush like I was. I don't know why I was. But I can be going 70 down the interstate and somebody will just come past me. I mean, they'll fly by me so fast and I'm going 70. They've got to be going 120. That happens the whole time I'm going down the interstate. Now that road coming up is St. Rose Highway 628, and that goes to the river, and that along that road is where they filmed that Budweiser commercial. Now we're about to hit Louisiana 310, and 310 will take you from Kenner to Booty, Louisiana, on the west bank of the river, Mississippi River. We're close to the river now. We're on the east side of the United States, okay? But if you get on that bridge there, that 310 overpass, you'll go through that swamp, then you'll get on an elevated section and it'll connect to the Luling Bridge, opened in 1983, and it will take you to the western part of the United States. Out west of the Mississippi. And if you go to St. Louis, there's a big arch. And why do they have that arch? That's the Gateway Arch, because St. Louis was long considered the gateway to the west, first city on the west bank of the river that the settlers going west would get to. And once they got out of St. Louis, hey, they knew they were on a big journey. And that's a big journey when you're walking from St. Louis to Oregon or California, walking. Then the railroad opened and that all ended, and that was the end of the frontier, and you could just buy a ticket in New York and take a train to go see your grandma in San Francisco. Amazing. And then they built cars and highways and then airplanes, and now you can go all around the world like there's no effort, unless your plane disappears. Okay, that little area is Almedia. I know I keep laughing because it's sort of interesting, I guess, and when I get interested in things, it makes me kind of laugh a little bit. But Almedia, little tiny place. There's Max. That junkyard has been open for so long. They make so much money on scrap. Now this is St. Rose. And a St. Rose by any name is a different saint. I don't know much about that saint, St. Rose. St. Charles, St. John the Baptist Parish. We're almost to Jefferson Parish, and he was no saint, but he was the president. Okay, well, you just see a bunch of businesses. This highway here is just, a bunch of businesses. There's the driving range. You can go hit the ball and drink and eat. this Highway 61 was completed, I think, in the year 1941. It was the first superhighway in Louisiana between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, first superhighway period. Some people say they called it Airline Highway because it was straight like a line you would draw through the air instead of the river road, which is very wiggly, curvy. But I think they called it Airline because if you go right around here, there's the New Orleans International Airport. And if you take Airline to Baton Rouge, you'll go very close to where the old Baton Rouge Airport used to be. They used to run from, there we go, Kenner, Louisiana, Jefferson Parish. So you basically going from New Orleans Airport to Baton Rouge Airport, or where the old airport used to be. So I think it was called Airline because it was connecting to airports. But that, I have no evidence of that whatsoever, except that's where the airports were located. Maybe it is because it's mostly a straight road. There's a plane. We're almost to the Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport, formerly known as Moisant Airport. And in fact, if you get on the internet and book a flight, the airport code is MSY, which comes from Moisant. So for whatever reason, they're still using the old name Moisant, which it hasn't been called Moisant Field in so long. I could go that way down Kenner Avenue, which is the old road through Kenner, next to railroad track. And Kenner was started in 1854, so that road might have been there in 1854, Kenner Avenue. They built this bridge here about 1977 to go over the railroad track. Trains would come through and stop the whole highway. Real irritating. Kenner City. Now, not a whole lot in Kenner, really, but there was an interesting boxing match in 1892 fought along the River Road in Kenner, and it was for the World Championship of Boxing, and it was Gentleman Jim Corbett and I can't remember the other guy, and it was a really famous boxing match. There was some legal reason they had it in Kenner and not New Orleans. I don't know. Anyway, you know, there's the airport. I'm sure you've seen airports. They all look kind of the same. If you go on US Highway 1 in New Jersey, it'll take you right by the Newark Airport. Right by it. So we're right by, well, actually, if you stay on 61 North and you go to Baton Rouge, not only do you pass where the old airport was, you pass right by the new airport. The new Baton Rouge Airport. New, you know, new like the 1960s new. Not exactly new. So, this is probably one of the most boring videos you've ever seen in your life, and I can understand that, because there ain't much to see along this highway, except a bunch of businesses. You like looking at a bunch of businesses and stoplights, then you're gonna love this video. Okay. Of buildings. The mud hole. Now, that's been there a long time. That's where these people with these big jacked up trucks go, and they buy a bunch of stuff for jacked up trucks so they can go in the mud. That's black and gold. There used to be Kenner Adult movie theater there. I remember that. And that's gone. Thankfully. All right, racetrack gas station. was wrecking, almost succeeding. Okay. All right. Well, there used to be a railroad track there. You might see the roadbed, and I remember when those trains would come roaring down that track. And I don't know why that track was discontinued. I can't remember the name of it. Here we are in Metairie. I don't know why that track was discontinued or taken up and away. Oh, I do know this. Oh, and there's Brian Chevrolet, where I bought my daughter's 2010 Chevrolet Cruze LT1. No, it wasn't. It is not under the recall. They had fixed the ignition problem by the time her car came out. Oh man, got a great deal on that car. It was, I think it was listed at $18,990, but they were trying to get rid of them because the new Cruzes were about to come in, and so they had it so low. I got it for $14,150, brand new, $14,150. I could have gotten a Cruze. I could have gotten a Cobalt official pace car. I didn't know that Camaro was the 2014 official pace car. But anyway, oh man, I could have gotten gotten one even cheaper for like maybe $11,150, or well, let's say $12,150. But my daughter wanted a fancy one. See, when you're not buying something and you're not paying for it, you can somehow get your father to pay a lot more and get a car with, I said, that's pretty good. You're getting a car with more options than mine. So I have a 2012 Dodge Avenger, and she's got a car with more options than mine. She's the child. How does that work? Well, like Bud Dry, don't ask why. Going back to the Bonnie Carré Spillway, I should have mentioned that. Bonnie Carré, that means square bonnet, because the river made a funny curve, and the early French officials said it looked like a square bonnet on a map. So they called that turn in the river there Bonnie Carré, square bonnet. Okay, we're going to turn here, and we'll be leaving Kenner, Metairie, because now we're about to go into Harahan and River Ridge along a railroad track. Louisiana has these bizarre numbers, 3154. I can never remember these numbers. They have so many highways with 3,000 somethings. I call them the 3000 series. It's bizarre because there are no Louisiana highways starting with the number 2000. So you're in the hundreds, and maybe there's a few with the 1000, and then they jump to 3000. All the highways are 3000. So whose decision was this? A 3-year-old? No, not a 3-year-old. A 10-year-old? Here's another convenience here. This is the new Hickory Street, because the old one over there went over the railroad track, and the trains would bottle up this highway. Now they built this big overpass in 1984, and that alleviated the train traffic. Now you can see the New Orleans traffic is building up. I don't mean going to, but coming from at 438. Okay, we're gonna stop this video here. We're in Harahan, and then we're gonna take that Earhart Expressway, which was opened in 1984. Now that thing that is a boondoggle project. It was supposed to be a superhighway from the Superdome in New Orleans all the way to 310. You saw Interstate 310. It was supposed to go all the way there and connect. And that was proposed in 1969, and the plans began then. 1969. Here we are in 2014. There's the end of it. You see how much they still need to do on it? It's got like, 10 miles to go to get to 310? It's never going to finish. So 45 years, and they've built a little bit of it. So really, it connects some apartments to a neighborhood. It's the Earhart Expressway that doesn't connect anything. Okay, off.